our Learn at Lunch for October. My name is Sai Munatua, and I'm the Associate Director here at FPU's Social Work Program. The purpose of our Learn at Lunch is to bring education, training, and awareness to social issues that impact our community here in the Central Valley. And we hope to achieve this through a social work lens and a Christian commitment. The Learn at Lunch series serves as a learning resource to the university, to the community on social issues, and to consider the intersections of social work education and practice with a faith perspective. Before we begin, let's just go over some housekeeping rules. If you could please make sure that you remain muted. And also to let you know that this webinar is recorded for academic purposes and use. It will also be posted on YouTube on our FPU Social Work channel. There will be time at the end of the presentation for Q&A. So if you have any questions, which I strongly do encourage you to think of questions to ask, if you could post that in the Q&A section as opposed to the comment section, this will help us filter the questions from the comment or feedbacks, okay? And I'll make sure that your questions are asked at the end. Also, in case you're not able to stay with us to the end, we would greatly appreciate it if you would participate in our evaluation. It takes about 2 to 3 minutes only. It's a way for us to know how our webinar is, and it's also to give us ideas on how we can improve our Learn at Lunch series as well. Okay, and then also to let you know that our next Learn at Lunch is scheduled on Wednesday, November 1st from 12 to 1 p.m. The city of Fresno will be addressing the homelessness here in Fresno and how the mayor's office, along with other community stakeholders, are addressing homelessness here in the Valley, and how helping professionals and future helping professionals can contribute to end homelessness. Okay. So at this time, I'd like to invite Dr. John Clark, the director of our BSW program, to open us up in a word of prayer.
Hello, everybody. Let's say a prayer. God, you've commanded us to love our neighbors as ourselves. Help me do that in my community throughout the city. Help me understand the problems people are going through, find ways to help them in ways they need it most. Help me love others no matter what their race or any other differences. Help me receive their love as well. Help me not permit grievances to block giving or receiving love. I pray right now for stability in the city. Give us wisdom how to move forward, to strive to understand others' perspectives, to find common ground. Give us insight, Lord, into what will best solve the problems we face. Help us to negotiate paths that will be better and brighter for everyone. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Clark, for that. At this time, I would like to invite our presenter, one of our very own, Dr. Edgar Manriquez, who will be presenting on the social and health benefits of dancing folklorico. And so Dr. Manriquez was born in Mexicali, Baja California, in Mexico. He is married with 4 children. He is a first-generation college graduate. He currently holds a doctorate degree from the University of Southern California, where his degree was focused on social innovation, management, leadership, and the American Academy of the 12 Grand Challenges of Social Work, Welfare, and Society. Dr. Manriquez has over 20 years of practicum experience as a social worker in child welfare services and in healthcare. He currently serves as a clinical assistant professor here at FPU, as well as the field liaison in our MSW program here at FPU. In addition to his scholarship and contribution to higher education, Dr. Manriquez makes time for self-care, such as folklorico dancing. So he is the founder of the FPU Mexican Folklorico Dance Program. So if you're interested, reach out to him. We are recruiting dancers. Dr. Manriquez was introduced to folklorico in college, and he's been dancing for over 10 years. He is currently a member of the Danzante with Selma Centro Folklore. And so let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Manriquez.
Thank you, Sai. Thank you, Dr. Clark. Thank you all of you guys for participating today. Muchas gracias por estar aquí en esta presentación. Es un privilegio. Y I want to remind you guys that it's still a Hispanic Heritage Month. It starts on September 15th and it ends on October 15th. So this is a good opportunity for those of you to explore the Hispanic heritage, if you are or are not, or it's available here in this country and in Latin America. So yes, Folklorico found me. I didn't find Folklorico. So that's what our presentation for today, it's going to be based on the culture and social health benefits of dancing folklorico. Hopefully, can everybody see our PowerPoint slides? Right. Okay. So I was raised when I immigrated to California, United States, in San Jose County. I was we worked at a poultry chicken ranch that was about 20 miles away from the nearest city. So there was no folklorico in the chicken ranch, and our nearest neighbor was about 2 to 3 miles away. So there was no activities. So yes, for college folklorico found me because I needed an art class to transfer from Fresno City College to Fresno State. So it was folklorico. So what got me was that it was about, I learned not only how to dance folklorico, but I learned about the history. I learned about you know, I learned about the culture, the costumes, and what led to be folklorico. So it's a lost and found cultural identity. That's the way I classify it as. As teaching this folklorico class at Fresno Pacific University, that's something that I'm finding for the students, that they're also realizing that they have a heritage of folk dance. And also it's a good self-care for exercise. So versus me showing a bunch of videos and pictures of folklorico dances that some of you have probably seen in the community. I'm just going to give you guys the historical aspect of how folklorico was developed and evolved through the years. So Latin America and Mexico has a colorful history for traditions and spirituality. Okay, so it has evolved, right? So in Mesoamerica, there was Olmecas, the Toltecs, the Mayas, the Incas, the Teotihuacans, and also the Mexicas, who are the Aztecas, and other indigenous Indian and native Spanish cultures that arrived here. Okay, so the pre-Hispanic native indigenous were here dancing between 1325 to 1519. Okay, so the Spaniards brought in their heritage. Remember, the Spaniards were developed through various cultures as a country. So the Iberian, the Greeks, the Jewish, the Romans, the Moors, the Arabics, and the Basques. Okay, so the Spaniards immigrated 1525 to 1810. Okay, remember, this was Nueva España, right? If you guys are in California, this used to be called Nueva España. This was New Spain. Okay, from that year 1525 to 1810. Remember that. Okay, but of course, the Spaniards and Europeans also brought what? African tribal dancers. So the African slaves were also dancing. Okay, yes, they were not allowed to dance, and yes, they had no rights, but they were still dancing behind closed doors. Okay, and that's something that the native indigenous and the Africans were dancing because they weren't allowed to dance. They would get punished. Okay, so more immigrants showed up, right? Immigrants from European countries like Viennese, who brought in the waltz. The French brought the chotillons, and the Germans brought the Scottish dances to Mexico. Okay, like so. For example, a dance of Chihuahua, it's all European. Okay, it has these three elements of dance. Okay, the square dancing, the circle, the heel toe, and what have you. Okay. Now, when Mexico got their independence from Spain in 1810. It took them some time to evolve. Okay, so once they got their when the revolution of 1910, 1920, that's when the Mexican and the indigenous arts forms were incorporated into the centennial celebrations such as art, music, and dance. So prior to this, they were not allowed to show their heritage, their dances, you know, their culture, their art. Okay, So there was a historical time for Mexico and also the Latin American countries that were able to express their heritage, okay? So, of course, in the background, that's our FPU Folklorico dancers, okay? So wait a second, the spirituality and the religious component of Folklorico has to do with los Reyes Católicos that were the King Fernando and Queen Elizabeth of Spain, who unified their country in Spain in 1492 and made it a Catholic country by force. Okay, so if you didn't convert to Catholicism and Christianity, you have to leave the country. So with their experiences, as the Spaniards invaded other countries, especially Mesoamerica, they also colonized and forced everybody to become Catholic. Okay, so how does that relate to today, and how has that evolved in time? So today, in the danzas that are celebrated and done, is in the fiestas in Latin America and the USA, such as a church mass. Okay. Also, El Día de los Reyes Magos, the three wise men, in January 6th. In Mexico or Latin American countries, the children put their shoes outside their doorstep, and supposedly the Tres Reyes Magos, the three wise men, are going to put candy, gifts, and money. So that's something that's still practiced in a lot of regions in Latin America and Mexico. Okay. Also, Domingo de Resurrección, Easter Sunday. There's a lot of dances going on during that time. Another one, Mexico Independence Day, El Día de Independencia de Mexico. Okay, from it's actually September 15th. That was in 1810. Okay, Fiestas Patrias that also influence Central and South America as well. Okay, for example, one of those that helped, one of the Spanish Americanos that helped with the being independent from Spain was Simón Bolivar. So he's another folk hero. Okay, El Día de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, November 1st to the 2nd. That's remember those that passed. It gives people the opportunity to reflect on those that have passed within time. Okay, so the first is the children and others, and then the two is the rest, family and friends. Okay, then A Lady of Guadalupe, Fiesta de Nuestra Señora de Guadalupe, December 12th. So that's another historical religious time that danzantes, folklorico dancers, will go dance as early as 12 a.m., 1 a.m. to all the way to like 6 a.m. So that's something that I experienced when I was dancing. We'd go to some of the churches, Catholic churches, and we would dance folklorico early in those mornings. Okay. And of course, finally, the Las Posadas, for Navidad, the Posadas for Christmas, the passage of Joseph and Mary of the Nazareth to Bethlehem into Christmas. So that's another significant religious and what have you, that there's dances of folklorico now. For example, we a lot of folklorico programs here in the Central Valley have a Christmas show recognizing a Christmas, and they do folklorico dances. Okay, so now what about the term folklorico? Does anybody know what the term folklorico is? Before you look at the screen. Okay, so the term folk, folklore was coined by a British archaeologist by the name of John W. Thomas in 1846. So how did he coin this term? So he would go out to the villages, the remote villages. He was observing that the people were dancing. Not only were they dancing, they would dress up with specific costume for this dance. And the other thing to observe is that they were telling a story. They were telling a story of, something that had happened, historical events. They were telling a story, or they were showing some kind of resistance to have some kind of rights. Okay. Or, of course, their own religious and practice that they were portraying. Okay. So these dances were taught to the elders, the middle age, the young adults, the teenagers, and the children in the lifespan of social development. Okay. Now, folklorico movement also brought a lot of folk heroes. Okay. So here in the Central Valley is Joaquin Murrieta, also known as Zorro. okay? My father, who was born in Mexico, where he was born in the rural areas of Durango and Sinaloa, there was no schools, there was no roads, there was no public education. But he knows the songs of Joaquin Murrieta. He used to sing those songs. He still does. Okay. Now the other part, my mother, she's from Chihuahua, and that's who Adelita is. Adelita was one of the first woman general leaders that helped during the revolution, the independence. I'm sorry, the revolution of 1910 of Mexico. So she got all the women together. She trained them how to use, arms and how to fight and how to do things to help their beloved husbands that went to war, their children, teenage children that went to war, young adults, and they fought together to get their revolutionary. So she was very, very popular, and there's a lot of dancers from Chihuahua named Adelita, and the song is telling the story of what she did and how she did it. Very popular song, region too. So by the 1950s, scholars and investigators, archaeologists found out there was about 150 regional dances just in Mexico. We're not talking about any other area. So Amalia Hernandez is the one that influenced and demonstrated ballet folklorico by dancing on stage in Mexico City. And she developed over 60 choreography dances in Mexico in the 1960s. They're danced today. Okay. So she went to every state and grabbed their most popular song and regional dance, and she put in choreography. Okay. So in the choreography, it talks about the history. It shows the history in a form, traditions, the meaning of the dance, the popularity, the costumes, the dresses, and the colors and hairs and other details. I can go on and on. Okay. Now, here's a list of the Mexico and Latin American regions of folklorico dance. So if you go down the list, you'll see that Aguascalientes, Baja California, Campeche, Chiapas, Chihuahua, Coahuila, Colima. Those are all states in Mexico. Now, as you get further down the list, from experience as teaching this class of folklorico with FPU students since 2017, I know a lot of students are not of Mexico or Latin American countries. So we've had a student that was Native American, and she did her research. One of the assignments is do a research on folklorico or anything that can relate to your heritage. And she did it on Native American dancing, and she learned something that she didn't know about, okay? Also known as the powwows. So at one time in this country, the Native American dances were gone. So based on her research, she found out that there was one dance that was preserved in the Midwest, and that same dance spread out to the other states and is evolved what the powwow dances are now. So originally, now it came from one dance. So that's something we learned. And also we have students that have done folklorico regions of, or they call them folk dances or folklore dances of Cuba, Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Brazil, Bolivia, Ecuador, Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile, Argentina, Cusco, Peru. Cusco, Peru has one of the most beautiful dances as well. I have gone to Cusco, Peru during June 15 to the 20-something, which is they do a ceremony that's practiced for hundreds and hundreds of years to preparing for the harvest season. Okay, so that week there's a lot of dances, and I was able to observe a lot of the folklore dances. They're very different, but all of them have that element of the Spanish, because remember the Spanish brought in the zapateado, which was a tap, okay, and that was taught to the natives. So what the natives were dancing, they weren't worried about the tap and hearing the tap. That was something that was taught to them, okay. And as the 300 years go by to 400 years, the natives' costumes started to transition slowly through the years into Spanish costumes, okay. Here we go. And once again, what are the social health benefits of dancing folklorico? And once again, look at the dancers. If you see the dancers here on the right side, you can see there's a culture diversity there, okay? So we have one dancer right here to the back left. She identifies as a white student, and it was her first time dancing folklorico, first time putting on makeup. first time doing a trenza, hairpiece, and first time performing here at the men's or women's halftime show. Our next student in front, she's from Portugal. Her ancestors are from Portugal. She was able to do research from Portugal, a folklore dance. Okay, and then we have other dancers here that they're a biracial, Mexican and Salvadorian. And we have a dancer, if you see in the far back, she's full Hmong. So she's dancing folklorico too. So there's no age limit and there's no cultural barrier to dance folklorico. And that's something that my vision was for folklorico students that, or any FPU student that wants to try out folklorico and they just didn't have the opportunity, they can dance here, okay? Now, health benefits. Okay, so one of the most important, self-care, right? So that's what I did when I was in undergrad, working on my bachelor's of social work and my master's of social work. My self-care was dancing twice a week for 2 hours, okay? So social interaction too. I could go and talk to my social group about, have fun, laugh, go out to eat and talk about anything, assignments or just anything in general, okay? And it's a holistic way of exercise. You're going to go dance. Not only you're going to go dance, but you're also going to do exercise in a fun way, okay? Staying physically active, finding time to go to the gym or go out jogging while you can just dance and get the cardio. There's a lot of cardio for folklorico. It also is good for the mental development, as the neuronological exercises in the brain are doing a new exercise or doing something new. It's exercising your brain, okay? And it reduces anxieties. When I was in grad school, working on my thesis project, I started getting, actually I stopped dancing for a month because I was working on my thesis, my spring year. And I started getting anxieties. My heart was pumping. I said, oh man, I better go to see the doctor. Went to the doctor and they were going to prescribe me anti-anxiety medications. But then he asked me, are you doing exercise? I said, no, I used to dance folklorico, but I took a break so I can get my schooling done. So I went back to folklorico and within 2 weeks it was gone and I kept dancing. So I made time to dance and exercise and I did not take the medications. Thank goodness. Okay. Self-expression. Folklorico as especially here in the United States, it's shown an expression of Latino, Latina, Latinx, women, men, and those other to identify and show something that they can represent in themselves. Okay, increase their academic performance as well. Okay, it gives them the time to go study and then come back, dance, and go back to study. Okay. And also, historically, I've had students that are very quiet, very timid, and by the end of the semester, their social skills have gone up. They're more social. They smile more. Because one of the components of dancing folklorico is look at their faces. They're all smiling. That's one of the first thing I show them. You gotta smile. You gotta show your teeth. Okay. So they work on smiling exercises. Okay. And of course, self-empowerment. Self-empowerment, after they perform for any event in the community, where have you, they feel well, they feel good afterwards, especially when people come up to and say they want to take pictures with you. You see kids yell, clapping. For example, the Folklorico Club performed a few weeks ago at elementary school, 1st to 6th graders, and once the kids saw the skirts, doing their movements, they all started clapping and screaming and yelling. Okay. And then another story after they performed and we're about to leave, a custodian, a janitor from the school was crying because they were so emotional to be able to see something that can relate to their heritage. And they said, I wish I can do the grito and scream, but I'm on the job, I'm on the clock. So you never know who you're going to inspire. Okay. Leaders for folklorico dancers. There's a research done that it's on my reference that was completed not too long ago in 2019. Did a research on 8 students that danced folklorico in college in San Bernardino, CSU San Bernardino, and on that research found that all 8 individuals graduated with a degree, and all 8 of them pursued a professional career And they said that dancing folklorico in college or even before that was an inspirational empowerment tool that helped them be leaders in the community. Okay, so it leads to career pathways. Okay, and the final and the most important part of folklorico is keeping some of the traditional culture going. You empower you do community service, but then you're also showing culture to the community. So and I believe there's my references. If you have any questions, concerns, this is the time, and I'm pretty much ready to take some questions.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Manriquez, for educating us on the folklorical historical context of the dance movement. And so we do have a few questions here for you, Dr. Manriquez. First is from Megan Robledo, who says, Dr. Manriquez, so happy to learn more about your folklorical program. Your passion for dance is contagious. What advice do you have for those of us who may suffer stage fright, but would like to be brave and give it a try?
Okay. So if you've never been on stage before, okay, that's something that I work with every student or every student that takes my class or in the club. You know, I do what is called like a short assessment and I ask them, have you danced before? Do you have any dance experience? And if they say no, never been on stage, never performed, okay. So I go to their level. Okay, first thing you want to train them is the smile. That's the first thing, the smile. You got to lock that smile. The way you practice with the smile is the way you're going to perform. And then I walk them to the next step. Okay, confidence. That's the next thing. And another key element is you might not know the dance. It might take you longer to learn the steps or the zapateadas. But the audience, a lot of times, they're just looking at your smile. Especially when you have the makeup, your hair. They're not looking at the choreography. They're just looking at your smile. Another element that I teach is you look over the audience. You don't look at the audience. Okay? That can help you look at the back of a room or look at the back of the stage, the back of the seats, and just look up there. And the audience thinks you're looking at them, but you're really not. And that also helps with preventing stage fright. And of course, a prayer. And sometimes we do some meditation, breathing exercise before you perform. And we support you and guide you through the whole process. But give it a try.
Okay. So thank you, Dr. Manriquez, for that reassurance. I have a question from Andrew Barraza, and he is asking if you could share a little bit more about how people can obtain healing through dance therapy.
Okay. So once you start in the group, therapy has started because you took the first step to take a challenge and show up. Okay. The second part is being around new people. Okay, in a social group environment. We go around, we introduce each other, and we do some collaboration, team building exercise to get to know other. Because in any form of dancing, there's got to be chemistry, right? So getting to know your group, your dance group members, it's a big help. Okay, and then also exercising, you know, and the exercises they're not that complex. I walk everybody. We go step by step, week by week. Okay. And then at the very end of every practice, we go around, we say, what is the positive learning experience of today? So I always incorporate a little bit of my social work, running groups, skills to the group, and it helps out. And then today's everybody said, si se puede, or someone said, I got the tap down, or you know what, one more try, or can we, you know, so there's always a motivational, inspirational. So it's a slow process, and sometimes you won't know it's working until you see like 3 or 4 weeks, like, oh yeah, I'm excited to go to practice. So yes, it does work.
Okay. The next question I have here for you, Dr. Manriquez, is you did a really wonderful job of articulating how dance is much more than a hobby. And it's much more than just a performance. As you went over the historical context of Folklorico, The question here is, can you talk a little bit more about how dance can be seen as a form of social justice?
All right. So, folklorico in the United States, I'm going to start there versus going back. So I'll start, it applies to the United States. During the civil rights movement, there was a lot of movements, also for the Mexican or Latinos era, trying to find an identity and where to fall in place. So one of the during the 60s, there's some research that I've ran into, and there is an article for the folklorico dance class that I teach, that we analyze the masculine of folklorico dance in the 1960s, and it talks about political. For the first time, dancers were able to go, and actually they would go in and dance at huelgas, like protests or picketing, and lobbying. That was something that was new, that started here in California specifically. So that was one way that being for social justice is showing a form of art dance, and also an expression like, hey, hear us, we're dancing for you, listen to our voice and listen to our message. Okay. And another significant findings, actually from an actual true story, my father-in-law, he plays in the mariachi. Well, he's retired now, but he played the mariachi in the Central Coast of Salinas, and he marched with Cesar Chavez, his Herb Mariachi band. They marched from Salinas to Sacramento for a few days, and they played the entire time. Okay, and that's something that needs to be looked at. When you see photos of Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta, and also the other individuals that started the farm workers movement union, look for the mariachi, look for the folklorico hit in the back of those pictures. I just wish they would have took more pictures of that, but they're out there. So that's just one way to show up social justice through folklorico dance.
Yeah, thank you for that, Dr. Manriquez. And I think you emphasized a wonderful point about folklorico, is this, that you really build a community around that, the sense of unity and honesty, and there's healing in that process. And so not only do you impact your own personal well-being, but there's impact on the culture and the community as well. So thank you for that. Another question I have for you, I'm combining two questions from Sandy Silva and Kane Christensen, is first, do you think anyone can dance? And two, if so, how long does it usually take for someone to become skilled in this dance?
So the way to apply this is, if you can walk, you can dance folklorico. Okay, if you can walk, yes, you can dance folklorico. So you can learn it. Okay, and that's one of the empowerment tools I use, or skills I use, when I have a student or someone that shows up to a practice of folklorico, the classes. I can't dance. I've never danced. I'm not coordinated. I don't know my right to left. So, the first thing I empower them is, can you walk? Yeah, I can walk. Okay. If you can walk, you can dance. All right. So I start with basic steps: right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Take a right step, take a left step. I start with basic. I go down to the levels. Okay. And the reason why is, from my experience as a dancing at the college level, I remember a lot of students would show up and they had never danced, but they always wanted to dance folklorico because they would see it in the community. But then they would leave because they weren't given the opportunity. And I would see through those 6 years that I danced at, for Los Danzantes de Aslan at Fresno State, I remember seeing a lot of students come and go. And that's something that I'm capturing here, that anyone can dance. Okay. And I'm willing to take the time and show them one step at a time at their level. And number two, that question, how long will it take to be top? Okay. So one thing for folklorico, in my theory, we're not going to perform to compete. We're not going to be in any of those. You think you can dance? We're not here to compete. We're here to learn the heritage, the regional dance, and the costumes. Okay, but it just depends. For example, some of these students right here was their first time. Actually, only two in this group right here in that picture had a little bit of experience. The rest had never danced. And they danced on September, I think it's 16th or 15th of last year. This is last year's picture. So we had about 3 to 4 weeks to learn this dance and perform, and they all did wonderful. Why? Look at their smiles. I always share them. There's a lot of tricks of how to hide the steps with the skirts. Okay, keep that smile locked, and you'll be fine. But it just depends on the individual how fast they can adapt to the zapateadas, the flat dances, and everything else. But it could be from 6 months, it could be from 1 month, it could be for a year. It just depends on the individual. There is a video out there on YouTube through FPU that in 2016 I did a workshop with faculty, and a lot of them were, I never danced before. I don't know how to dance folklorico. And we did a choreography. I did a workshop, and they all did fine. It's somewhere out there. I was gonna post it on here, but I didn't want to take too much of the time. But look for it. You'll see faculty that of all age too, okay, that actually learn to dance like in less than an hour. So it's doable. It's just finding the right folklorico, I want to say, company, club, agency, studio that wants to give you the opportunity. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Manriquez. And a very quick question is, do you have a favorite place to dance?
Can you be more specific? Can you clarify on what do you mean by dance?
Do you have a favorite location?
Are you talking about folklorico dance? Or?
Yes.
Oh, like to go out and dance? What do you mean? Can you clarify that question, please?
However you interpret that. Do you have a favorite spot that you dance at that you would recommend?
Okay.
Or you've done a lot of traveling, learning about folklorico. Is there a spot where, with a beautiful scenery and background and experience with dancing?
Okay. So one thing that a place that I've been to. So I'm going to tell you this: the first time that I performed was at Fresno City College, and the second time I performed was at the William Sorin Theater. Okay, so there's a difference between dancing on stage, dancing like on a festival, dancing at a church, dancing in a class, in a workshop. But if you're asking me what was my experience, it just depends where you take folklorico, because there's some students, folklorico dancers, they just want to perform on the stage. They just want to perform in front of the audience. Okay. And there's some folklorico students that just want to perform for the community, and they love to perform in the community. Okay. So the times that I've performed, especially here and now, it's either on stage or in the community. So at this time, I don't have a preference. And another model that I teach the students is prepare to dance anywhere, on grass, on the track, okay, in a small ballroom, on the street. You just don't know. And that's another thing that's one of the elements that I show the students. You're going to perform in various areas that are going to be small or big. But where did I most enjoy to perform? I want to say it was in Tijuana, Mexico. In a little town called La Misión, which La Misión is it's a little town between Tijuana and Ensenada. If you blink, you'll miss it. You hit a road, say La Misión, and you go down dirt road. It's in a little dirt valley. And we went there because that's where this dance called calabaciadas, where they kick dirt, that dance was founded there in Baja California Norte. So we went for a conference, a folklorico festival for a week, and I was dancing in the state where I was born, Baja California Norte, and I was able to do something I haven't done since I was a kid. What was that? Kick dirt. So that one's probably one of the most memorable, and the second one would probably be dancing in Jalapa, Veracruz. with the dancing with the natives over there, and be called pocho, or be called various names I had not heard of. And I asked him, what does that mean? It means that you're a Mexican born in the United States. Well, I was born in Mexico. Oh, and then you know, and seeing the food and what they eat and the places that they dance. So sorry,
Okay.
I don't have a spot I can go dance right now unless you go to a studio. That's a whole different
No,
question.
thank you, Dr. Manriquez. We appreciate your passion and enthusiasm for Folklorico. I have another question here. It says, from Luz, says, thank you for the great information. I love folklore dance. Besides the choreographies, do you also teach cultural values and origins of each dance?
Okay, so for the club, the students just want to dance. So I was incorporate a little bit of lecture of what regional dance you're learning, where it's from, how long it's been in existence, and the reason of the costume. Okay. Okay, because in this costume, if you guys look at this costume on the blouse, you can see, you can't see it from here, but there's Spanish conquistadores, the boats are on there, the ships, they immigrated to the found Mesoamerica. They're on there. So the costumes are telling a story, are telling you something. You can't see it from here, but there's a detail on there. And you can see the royal, you might see on the sleeves the Spanish royalty. And then the skirts, of course, some of these skirts, the colors are from the natives and the rest are from the Spaniards. So like I say, it took 300 or 400 years for these native costumes to slowly disappear and transition into European costumes. And that's something that we've lost. Okay, so if we go another 300-400 years, imagine seeing a folklorico dancer wearing a robot costume. Okay, so we want to keep a tradition. Now, in the folklorico class, the Latin American and Caribbean Studies Mexican folklorico dance class, in that one, we definitely go into detail. We go into historical of each region. We talk about the dance. We talk about the music. We have them listen to the music. And I have them do research on a folklorico region that they're interested. I have them do a group presentation. And there's some, there's, like I said, there's some articles and some book. I have a book. It's actually on the reference called Dancing Folklorico through History. And that was done by, that was a dissertation by a person in Texas. And she covers, in that book, it covers all the dances that you would imagine. For example, one of the oldest dances that was influenced by the Spaniards was Los Moros and Cristianos, the Moors and the Christians. So when the Spaniards got their independent from the Moors and they finally left Spain, they brought in those dances, and that dance is still danced today. So it portrays the Moors dancing, fighting against the Spaniards, you know, but it's a dance. Okay, so that's one quick overview that I can give you. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Manriquez. I have another question here. It says, it's from Dr. Pranger. I really love how Folklorico gives back to the community, performing at schools and at community events. It seems like Folklorico can be an opportunity to reclaim some cultural identity that has been lost for many because of the push to assimilate to U.S. customs and traditions. There can be a lot of cultural shame held by generations of Latinos, Latinas. Dr. Manriquez, how might Folklorico be a support for those who have lost some cultural identity and want to reclaim some of this?
Good question. Thank you, Dr. Granger. So the first thing is, we're in a different era that if you're at this point here and now and like, oh, there's no way I'm gonna go to find a folklorico group or join FPU folklorico, I'm not gonna dance. You got YouTube. YouTube is it's a simple tool. So YouTube, you can search folklorico regions and start looking at them and just put the state or put Mexico or put Peru and you'll find them. Everything's on YouTube these days. That's something that folklorico was hit during the times when I used to dance. There was no YouTube, you know, so trying to find anything was very rare. It was on VCR tapes or the mini DVs, and then later on the CDs. But they're out there. Do a little bit of research. Go to YouTube, look for folklorico dances of Mexico or folklorico dances of El Salvador or Guatemala, and just do a little bit of research for yourself. Okay, and then the next thing is try to find a company that's willing to take a beginner dancer with no experience. And that's something that I've been finding here in the Central Valley, that sometimes they just want advanced dancers. They want advanced folklorico dancers that dance in elementary, middle school, and high school. You know, what about those that are isolated? You know, those that are oppressed for not given the opportunity. And that's why the doors at FPU are open for anyone that wants to even try. And I tell students or whoever wants to show up, just show up and listen to the music and just watch. You don't have to do nothing, just observe. So
Dr. Manriquez, on that note, I think that leads to my next question here, and I have multiple people asking this, is when is the next time that you guys are performing or dancing, and that people can watch you either perform live or in person?
All right, so we do have the Fresno Pacific University Folklorico Club practices Wednesdays and Thursday nights, the main campus at the Ashley Auditorium at 7 o'clock. We go for an hour and a half. Okay, that's Wednesdays and Thursdays nights at 7 p.m. at Ashley Auditorium. Next performance for FPU Folklorico Club, it's going to be en el Día de los Muertos, the Day of the Dead, remembers of those who have passed, which is November 4th at Selma. There's going to be a Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead festivity in Selma, California. And we got an invitation by the community members for us to perform with another folklorico group called Centro Folklore Selma. So yes. And we do have Instagram. It's called FPU Folklorico Club. Look it up, you should find it. And we usually post on there where our next performances are going to be at.
Okay. I have another
one more performance. There's another one on November 17th. That's going to be here at the main campus at the Workington Culture Arts Center. And that's going to be it's a holiday festivity. November 17th, 7 p.m. So be looking out for an invite. We're going to send it to you guys and let you guys know.
Okay, and I think we have time for one more question here, Dr. Manriquez. It says, you mostly see this as a female-involved area or activity, and you mentioned that you yourself participate in this style dance. What's the male population like in this style of dance? And what is your group like in regards to men to women ratio?
Excellent question. So I know one of the previous questions asked about being ashamed. So as a male as a male myself, joined a folklorico class where the first class I took, there was like 15 women and there was only like three males. So that was a shame, you know, because I hate, what? You know, where's all the guys? And then the next class I took once again, not enough guys. So one of those things, and I also was ashamed to invite my family. Like I was embarrassed to tell them, like, oh, you're dancing with, you know, and it's a machismo thing probably, you know, plus no experience and not knowing what to expect. So once I invited them, they saw me dancing, they thought it was wonderful. But it's the women have overpowered the folklorico. It's rare to find any guys that want to dance. For example, at our folklorico club, we have no guys. We have one that shows up here and there, and we have another one that also shows up here and there. But it's very rare. That's why we have to do dances. They're portraying. They're showing more of a women style versus having men. But it takes time to build. It's time. It's just that, you know, it's one of those things. It's a shift change for men and not want to learn a cultural dance. You know, so that's a downfall for not having enough men to dance or males to dance folklorico. So if you're male out there, you want to dance, you join our club, please.
So thank you, Dr. Manriquez. It looks like that's all the time that we do have for questions. And so I apologize that we were not able to get through all the questions. But just wanted to let you know that this presentation is recorded and will be posted on YouTube. Just YouTube search FPU social work, and then you'll be able to find. So if you have any questions related to the presentation, maybe any information that you missed, please feel free to re-review that. Not only that, but I have included Dr. Manriquez's email address into the chat. So please feel free to reach out to him for any of those questions that we missed. Okay, again, I apologize for that. And so Dr. Manriquez, we appreciate you coming out and joining us this afternoon, presenting on Folklorico and the benefits of that. It's very obvious that you are very passionate about it. And so we love that. And so thank you for inspiring us and really teaching us that Folklorico is so much more than just dance or a hobby, right? There's meaning and there's purpose behind that. So thank you for that. Before we end, I do have a few announcements to make. Again, our next Learn at Lunch is scheduled for November 1st. We are going to address homelessness here in the Valley. The HEART team, which is the homeless response team that comes out of the city of Fresno. Millions of dollars have gone into that project with many stakeholders throughout the Central Valley in addressing homelessness here, in particular to the Central Valley and Fresno. So many of us are either current helping professionals or we are future helping professionals. And so we hope that you can join us on Wednesday, November 1st, when members of the city of Fresno, along with some of the stakeholders, will be presenting on how we as a community can address homelessness. Okay, and also friendly reminder, if you could please, if you haven't done so already, complete that short and brief evaluation for today's webinar. Let us know how we're doing. We appreciate and we encourage your feedback. Okay. So again, thank you for participating with us today. We pray you have a wonderful afternoon and we will see you in November. Bye, everyone.